My name is Perrin, and this is my older brother, Preston. So why don't we move on to what we're going to show? Because we are very excited to show you guys what we have for you guys. Isn't that right,
Woo!
Kuya Preston? Am I
Yes,
right? Am I right? Am
excited.
I right?
Yeah, we're gonna show our musical video right now.
Fill my heart with a melody only you can sing to me, and put in my voice the chorus of your song of victory. You called me to the shore just so you can part the sea. You light up your creation in the depths that hold your glory. And open my eyes to your majesty, all I offer, Lord, to see. Even in the secret place we have mercy. You stretch the heavens wide like a curtain over me. You light up your creation in the depths that hold your glory. Yahweh Elion, King of all, Lord Most High. For all my days I'll praise you when my heart and mind don't understand. Oh, Yahweh You painted my soul whiter than snow. Your sovereign will is making me whole. Your faithful heart is guiding me home. Perfect love, I'm never alone. Yahweh Elion, King of all, Lord Most High. For all my days I'll praise you when my heart and mind don't understand. Oh, Yahweh Elion.
Wow. Wow. I'm speechless. Did you wow. Dude, that's the future Ben and Ben. Like future Ben and Ben. But I have a
No,
question
it's
before we
Preston and
move on.
Baron.
It's present
Why
parent.
did you guys pick that song?
That is a question that we will answer in our presentation. So you guys can sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn. So I'll just share our slides. All right. So hello once again, guys. My name is Perrin, and this is my older brother, Preston. No one taught you how to speak. People just spoke to you, and you were allowed to speak back. Now, let's take a musical perspective here. In a formal setting, someone who's a beginner at playing the drums most certainly cannot play and keep up with someone who's a pro at using the guitar. However, with English, assuming that's everybody's first language here, there were never those kinds of limitations. Because ever since you were a baby, you've been jamming with the professionals. No one tells you what you have to say. Plus, you don't sit in a corner practicing the same phrase over and over again. Your parents talk as they always do, and over time, you just start to copy them.
Let's dive deeper into its music aspect. It is a language you never know you're fluent in until you experience it. Everyone who has heard music can become a musician fluent in the language, and anyone who has felt the beat in their feet naturally started tapping along. Nobody tells you to do that. It's just something that happens almost immediately. In this case, music is a language. Think about the kinds of music we have today. Jazz was born because of the amount of experimentation, innovation, and collaboration that occurred in the Black communities. And the multiple different cultures that lived in the same areas led to the creation of jazz. The point is, much of the music we hear today wouldn't have existed without experimentation, taking something old and turning it into something new. Any language is naturally experimented with, leading to change and improvement.
Imagine this. You wake up, you go outside to the nearest cafe and browse through the list of coffee drinks. You finally decide on one, but you don't tell the cashier your order. In fact, you just stand there, knowing what you want to express, but not expressing it at all. And that's why, just like any language, music is meant to be shared with other people. It serves as a means of expressing thoughts, feelings, and emotions to others. Language should be used as a connector between you and the listener, a means of sharing a story or a message, the same way it was and still is a connector between me and my brother.
From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, your day is probably filled with hundreds of choices. Things like deciding which task to do first, what path to take on your evening stroll, and anything between are all part of the decisions we have to make. We have freedom in everything that we do or say. And this freedom, a freedom to make decisions, is a God given gift. And in all aspects, languages should be used for the purpose of glorifying God, not out of obligation or requirement, but by our free choice to glorify it.
In the 1930s, the Soviet Union heavily limited the kinds of music that were allowed in the mainstream. In other words, music was used as a means of harm. Bob Marley used music to promote unity in Jamaica, which featured artists from both old and new in his concert. Music was used as a means of peace. Like any language, music can be used to hurt or to harm, but it could also be used to promote unity and promote peace. Music as a language can be a tool for many things.
Like any tool, it's up to us to decide how we use it. How we use it, whether it's to hurt or to help, is a choice of our own will. And Colossians 3:17, it reads, "And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." God gives us the ability to play music and presents it with a choice as well, to use it or not for his glory. If these gifts came from him in the first place, then why don't we use it for his purpose?
When it comes to using music as a language for God's glory, David has years worth of experience. Even as a young boy, it is noted that he actively enjoyed playing instruments, singing hymns and songs about or towards God. He repeatedly engaged in song with the use of a lyre, often playing in King Saul's court. Even throughout his reign as king of Israel, he did not stop using his musical ability for the Lord. It is this very commitment to using his gifts for the Lord that comprised most of the book of Psalms.
It's easy to think that times are different now, that today's world is just too complex to be able to use music for his glory. But while civilizations have evolved, new ideas formed, and technologies improved, the opportunity and ability to use music for his will is still the same. So that begs the question, how can music as a language be used for him? Just like David did, music can be used to glorify God's name, a means of worship towards him. It can be used to emphasize God's grace, forgiveness, or all encompassing power. In other words, music can be used as a language of praise.
Music is also a means of telling a story. Many songs are created from the experiences of the artist or writer. It could be used to describe how he comforted you in your time of peril. On the other hand, it could also be used to describe God's providence or his providence in your every single day. Music can be used as a testimony of God's goodness in your life. Music can be used as a language of expression.
The Great Commission is one of the commandments given to us as Christians. In Matthew 28:19-20, it says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you, and behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." Now, how does music relate? Whenever you listen to a song, the language of the message speaks to you, and you feel a connection to the artist. Similarly, music can be used for outreach because it spreads the message of the good news to whoever hears it. Take Maverick City Music, for example. On March 1, just last year, 2022, they gathered in a prison in Florida, in one of the largest prison ministries in history. Through the language of music, many inmates that day saw the light of Jesus and gave their hearts to him that day. So music can be a language for outreach.
So here's our musical story as brothers. Because music has always been part of our lives. Back when we were little, Kuya Preston would play his toy guitar while singing the ABCs, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and Baba Black Sheep, which all technically had the same melody. You could see him rocking out in this first photo. And I do my best to follow along on my toy drum set, and together we'd be a tiny band.
Exactly. Back then, if we weren't talking to each other verbally, we were talking to each other through the sound of music. Having been brought up in a musical family, specifically my mother's side, as she used to sing in a choir while her uncle was a multi-instrumentalist, we were exposed to music at a very young age. And I remember specifically being played Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, and even Dvorak as a baby. And this continued on as we grew older.
In almost every activity, I'd be singing. You'd find me singing while doing chores, singing while doing schoolwork, or even singing in the shower. Singing always seemed to help me do any task I had at hand. My exposure to classical music as a child also led me to fall in love with composers like Debussy. Soon enough, I started learning the piano so I could play pieces like Arabesque No. 1. Eventually, I did stop taking classes, but that did not stop me from continuing to explore the piano.
While for me, the exploration of instruments was my niche, as I never really had a good singing voice, as you saw in the video. It started with drums, and then I experimented with piano and guitar, practiced ukulele, and tried out niche instruments such as ocarina and the kalimba. And recently, I've been trying the violin, and on the more music production side of things, the synthesizer. So this was a stage where my brother and I were expanding our musical vocabulary, per se.
In the early stages of our lives, we lived in the Philippines. But that all changed once we moved almost halfway around the world to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. With a new environment came new opportunities God gave us to fulfill his purpose through music. Over time, we were given the blessing of being able to serve in our church's music ministry. We chose to use music as a tool to appreciate and acknowledge God's role in our lives as the sole one who gave us the ability to even produce music. This extended far beyond our family, as music was used as a tool for fellowship among other Christians.
As the years went by, we started collaborating more as brothers. Music became the connection between us on most of our projects. And most of the time, I'd be playing guitar while Perrin would sing. On other occasions, he would be playing the piano, while our little brother was the one singing. Yeah, it's another brother. Now, whether it was at home or at church, music always seemed to be a way of bonding us together. And every time we would play worship songs as brothers, it would help us grow closer to each other and to God.
As we grew into our teenage years, our use of music grew as well. As the years went by, we found ourselves not only covering songs of worship, but creating our own as well. Our song Voyager was one that we and our Elevate Youth Ministry made as a group. Now, this most recent cover that you saw is called Yahweh Elyon by Tekoa and Nathan Staggers. The first word, Yahweh, is the Hebrew word that referred to the God of the Israelites. And the second word, Elyon, translates to God Most High. We wanted to emphasize God's will and purpose in our lives. After all, the first couple of lines are exactly that. Riddle my heart with a melody only you can sing to me, and put in my voice the chorus of your song of victory. In our case, the melody or the language was the language of music.
Now, to be a good musician, you have to be a good speaker, quote unquote, as all languages do. But to be a great musician, you also have to be a great listener. And it's only when you listen and understand that it is God who gave you your voice or your sound will you be able to truly make music. Now listen to the message you want to say with your music, because on top of all the bells and whistles and millions of possibilities you can do creatively with this field, it is an art done with purpose. And its purpose lies in it being a tool to whatever you want to do, to tell stories, to reach out, and to worship. Now this purpose lies in your choice as a musician, but first of all, as a human. As God freely created us for his purpose, we have the freedom to do what we want with what he gave. Now, the music God instilled in my brother and I is music that we hope strikes a chord with anyone who listens, doing it all for his glory. But how about you? What will you choose to do with the music that you create? Thank you.
Wow, Grabe. I learned so many lessons there, and then like how they reminded me of the benefits of singing together. Includes supporting our physical, emotional, and mental health. It's experimental. It's used as an expression meant for connection. It can be a tool. It's meant to share and used for the purpose of glorifying God. Mainly, music is a language of love. Thank you so much, Perry and Kuya Preston, for that amazing testimony. And moving
You're
on
welcome,
to our
guys.